Do you remember, with any degree of specificity, the discussion that you had at the first meeting that you had with John Lim? I remember a good deal of detail, yes. And this was with Mr. Lim and Mr. Rhodes only. As far as I can recollect, those were the only other two persons in the room besides myself. It's possible there were other people that you don't recollect at this point. It's possible. I don't think it's probable. Did you know Mr. Rhodes' girlfriend at that time? I had met her. Was she at that meeting? I believe she opened the door and left shortly thereafter, to the best of my recollection. You don't remember that for certain? No, I don't remember it for certain. Very good. Now, you claim that you had certain meetings between the first meeting, we don't know the precise date, and the time that the cocaine was picked up by you. Is that correct? That's correct. Now, you had meetings with Mr. Rhodes, is that correct? Yes. And you say that you had meetings with Lim during this period? To the best of my recollection, there was one meeting that I recall. At that one meeting, do you have any recollection of the date of that meeting? Was it January? To the best of my recollection, there was a meeting in late January or early February, around in that area. Now, at this meeting, Mr. Rhodes was present, to the best of my recollection, and Mr. Lim was present. I can't recollect with any certainty that at that particular meeting Mr. Lim was present. All right. Now, the next time that you remember seeing Mr. Lim was in Rio de Janeiro. Isn't that correct? I recollect there were two meetings. At one I saw Mr. Lim. That was prior to the Rio de Janeiro meeting. And at the other one you saw Mr. Rhodes. I believe that the meeting I am speaking of, both were present, if my recollection is accurate. Do you know when that meeting was? In late January or early February. You met with both of them? With both of them. There were several subsequent meetings. Whether I met with both At that time, I have no clear recollection. So you just don't really recall. That's correct. Do you know how long that first meeting you had with Mr. Lem and Mr. Rhodes lasted? We caught a late morning PSA flight from San Diego, flew to San Francisco, and caught the late afternoon flight home. So it couldn't have been very long, could it? I imagine probably about 4 hours. You caught a late afternoon flight down, and you caught an early afternoon flight back. The other way around. You caught an early afternoon flight. I was in San Diego. I flew up to San Francisco. It was already dark when I arrived. Daylight savings was already over with at that time. Yes, it was. Now, would you describe your discussions with Mr. Morgan relative to his role in the conspiracy? His role was defined as that of a courier traveling with me throughout the journey until the cocaine was passed to Mr. Mahoney. Then he would come back to the United States via another route. Did you tell Mr. Morgan where the cocaine was coming from? The geographic location? The identity of the person who would supply it? To the best of my recollection at that point, no, I did not. And why was that? He didn't need to know